Well, hello everybody and welcome. This is Public Eye. My name is Funmi Iyanda. Our topic today is going to be around pilgrimage, education pilgrimage. Well, one of the most famous and used urban slangs in Nigeria right now is Japa. It means literally to finally escape. So Nigerians say all the time, Mo fe Japa. I want to finally and completely escape. Why do young people in particular want to escape Nigeria, especially when it comes to education? Most young people censored or questioned or polled have said if they had a chance, they'd rather be educated outside of Nigeria than within Nigeria, as it is only a tiny fraction of potential university-age students in Nigeria are able to get into university. Even when they do get into university, it appears that the circumstance is not favorable, from ASUU strikes to cultism to all sorts of things happening in university. It seems the best option for parents and students is for their children to travel as far and wide as possible. And Nigerians do travel as far, as wide as can be imagined. What, however, is the consequence of this for the parents, for the children, for the country? What is the consequence for the future? This will be our conversation on today's show. Please sit back. When we come back, we're going to start Public Eye on pilgrimage in education.
Incessant strikes, irregular academic calendars, unmotivated educators, poor standards of education. These are a few of the strong reasons why many Nigerian students are seeking better alternatives several miles away from home. Even the leaders of the country, whose responsibility is to make the quality of our education globally competitive and desirable, have sent most of their children and wards on the education pilgrimage to countries that have treasured and invested in theirs. The problem, however, is that the surge in education pilgrimage has given room for exploitation and mistreatment of Nigerian students abroad because their hosts are aware that they have no choice. They would instead stick it out and endure than return home. How much harder could it get over there than it is already here? Education abroad isn't cheap, and for all the investment put in to acquire it, the least that is expected is fair and humane treatment. In many situations across several hot education destinations, this has not been the case. Several Nigerian students continue to report instances of racism, negligence, exploitation, and in some unfortunate instances, death. While some criticize the schools, many have blamed the Nigerian government for not standing up to defend its citizens. While these issues may not go away anytime soon, the ultimate and lasting solution is to fix our education system to global standards.
Right, welcome back. Public Eye it is, and our conversation today is around education pilgrimage. Well, Nigerians have always traveled around the world, perhaps some of the most traveled people on the continent of Africa for different reasons. However, in recent past, it's been a case of Japa, almost a situation where people just want to leave the country and never come back again. Today, we are specifically going to be looking at education. And my first guest this morning is Miss Eunice Eleaka. Eunice is the acting president of the National Association of Nigerian Students in Ukraine. Eunice, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm really happy that you are very well. So you are, well, you're fourth year.
Fourth year.
Fourth year, you're a medical student.
Yeah.
You're at which university again?
Bogomole National Medical University in Kyiv.
Yeah, and you've been there for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
So why go to Ukraine? Why go to school in Ukraine?
Okay, I think the reason should be different based on individuals. For me personally, I tried in Nigeria, and then there was wasn't possible. Let me put it that way. Not based on my mark, because my last JAM score was good enough to gain admission. But you know, due to the corruption in the country and all that, I didn't get the admission, so I tried Ukraine. Ukraine is quite affordable, and from what I heard, studying medicine there is quite good. It's better, both in the practical aspect and theoretical aspect. So I tried it, and yeah, I wasn't disappointed when I got there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't as if you didn't try to get into university in Nigeria. That's what you're saying.
Of course, I tried.
You tried?
Yeah.
Okay. But when you got there, you said you were not disappointed. What was it like initially?
Having friends who studied medicine here, I think I could compare the both. I think they go a little bit outside the normal medical scope. Like they try to elucidate us more, like deeply compared to Nigeria here. Like we learn courses outside the normal courses that are being learned here in Nigeria. Just that the system was a little bit tedious for me when I got there. It was quite tedious. Like you are not studying based on your own personal zeal, which is what I see in most Nigerian students, by the way. There, if you skip 1 day class, you have to rework it. And if you keep skipping, you can be expelled. They are quite strict with their studies, okay? You have to take tests every day and get a mark every day.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
But then, you know, you thought there was a need to set up, because you were the one that started the National Association of Nigerian Students in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay, I felt there was need for it. A lot of happenings, students dying, and the cases are being swept under the carpet and no one to push it further the way it should. And I had privilege to school for a few years here, not in medicine. So being in Nigerian university, and there is student union, I think there is more to bring to students who have not experienced university here, okay? And I know that most of them need something to keep their student life lively. But since they can't get it, they tend to, you know, go out there. Some become victim of unwanted pregnancy and all that. So I felt NANS can help them, you know, experience all that, the academic aspect, the social aspect and all that. I even intended to maybe hold an award night where we have to invite some of the celebrities from here in Nigeria, have the most beautiful girl in Ukraine, have maybe Mr. Macho and all that. And even maybe set up some academic forum where we can teach them, even that of ladies forum where we can educate them on some certain areas. And yeah, I just had a lot of it on my plans. And saying that some countries, African countries, that had lesser population than Nigeria had such coordination. Okay, being friends with some of the executive members of Ghana, I saw how coordinated they were. They were more like one family. It was one body, one voice that spoke for them. And I was really, you know, I had great concern for that. And
Tell me about those difficulties there that made you want to do this, because I hear you when you say, look, let's start NANS. Okay. And the way it sounded in your head, you almost wanted to export NANS Nigeria to Ukraine in a way. However, you know, we did hear some cases. There was a particular case that everybody heard about, and that was Adebayo Agboluade. Yeah. In fact, his sister was meant to be here on this show. Okay. But, you know, last minute she couldn't bring herself to talk about it again, you know. So there's been, and you mentioned it now, there are cases of death. I mean, young people don't randomly die,
yeah, of
course. That sort of thing,
yeah.
You know. So what peculiar, you know, circumstance makes life there challenging? Made you realize that we need to rally, we need to have our own sort of, you know, coordination here.
Okay, you just mentioned the cases of death. Okay, basically, I think there is no year that went by that we didn't hear of any incidents of death from a Nigerian student, mostly during summer, okay? maybe a Nigerian student that just got into the country and then wants to explore, and then goes to their beach or their river and all that, and then we hear cases of being drowned. We don't really know the exact incidents, but that's what we hear. And then there are cases of a guy that just, the one you just mentioned now, that just got into the country, and then at the end of the day, we heard it was pneumonia. Yes, Ukraine is cold, but even me, I had my doubts, okay? He's not the first person that came from a climate like ours to a new one. Even the case of the girl that was suicidal, yeah, there are quite a lot of cases that...
You know, the suicidal one was interesting because, you know, there's a lot of contention whether it was suicidal or not suicidal.
Okay.
But some of the things you've mentioned right now are things that, you know, they are kind of like culture difference and culture shock. If you leave Nigeria and go to those parts of the world, number one, the weather is drastically different.
Yeah.
The culture is drastically different.
That's true.
The language is drastically different.
That's a big barrier.
So what is there on ground? Is there no sort of orientation for Nigerian students who get into, and we're using Ukraine as an example,
Yeah.
but I know that this happens in several countries. So what orientation exists? Do the schools do anything to prepare the students for life in a completely different environment?
No, and that is where NANS comes in, okay? There is no such thing from the university. I think the Nigerian students, basically the international students, they are on their own, okay? So it's up to us to set up such things to, you know, elucidate them on the necessary things to know when you're in a foreign country. That is exactly where NANS comes in. And I don't know. It depends on individuals. Some tend to get it from friends, okay, when they get there, while some just tend to manage on their own. Me, I had the privilege that a friend helped me for a few months, and then she left me to myself. But the language barrier and all that, but we have to survive. We went there for something.
Yeah.
My dad would always tell me, this is a decision you made on your own. So I think the burden is going to be less on you because it's a personal decision. We didn't make it for you.
We didn't make it for you. You did mention that you did actually get into a Nigerian university.
Yeah.
That's how you knew about NANS.
Okay, let me get to NANS. I don't know. I didn't know that NANS was a big association because after I created it, some comrades contacted me and added me to the NANS diaspora. I didn't know. I just put it myself. When I was making my journal, like I took my journal and was making my plans, I was like, what name can I give this? And then what came to my head is national, of course. That is a vital word. Ukraine should be there. Students should be there. It's either association or union. So I just put it together and it gave me NANS. I wanted to call it NANSU. I said, no, maybe NANS Ukraine. Then after I saw there was something like NANS, I said, okay, maybe that was what God wanted. And then.
So Eunice, what about the Nigerian embassy in Ukraine? I mean, do you have any sort of, did you register with the Nigerian embassy? Do students register with the Nigerian embassy?
Okay, once I set it up, I wrote an official letter to them with official letter heading of NANS with the logo and everything. And I didn't get the response from them initially. And some people who knew them personally, maybe based on individual relationship, said they were not ready to speak to anybody based on the whole happening. I wrote to them because of the tension. And but later they became quite cooperative. And I think we communicate, me and the ambassador. Yeah, so it's okay now.
So, I mean, of course, Ukraine became a flashpoint.
Yeah.
It did appear that the Nigerian government, and someone is there to, educate us, is here to educate us further on it. But from news report, Nigerian government did evacuate Nigerian students out of Ukraine. It was actually a really good moment to see that happening. Not only just Nigerian students, but students from other parts. But what was happening with Nigerian students? Because there was a lot of reports of racism, of attacks, of, just being turned back, even during a war situation.
Yeah.
Did you hear any of this?
Yeah, basically it's not a new thing in Ukraine and Europe as a whole. I don't know if the major reason is the language barrier, but it's not a new thing. Racism, Yes, but I experienced quite less of it because I was in the capital city. But people in other cities said it was quite high, okay, both in their normal day activity, they tend to experience such thing. So this wartime, people from different cities came to the capital. So it's normal for them to have experienced it. So we all knew that before going there. We just wanted the education, right?
Right.
Yeah, so.
So you're saying you knew that it was going to be a difficult environment, but went anyway because it was better than.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when they talk about racism, unless you have experienced it close up, most people don't really know what it's like. What is it like?
Oh my God. Like, one person said it directly to us. Like, we came and we were like, I and my friend, we were like, where can we get this? That was our second year. We had to move to the hospital for a lecture. So we asked him in their language. He just looked at us and said, I'm a racist, get out. So my friend was like, oh, wow, you're racist, get out too. And then we worked that. And for some of them, they don't say it, but you know that's what it is. You can get in and ask for something, they snub you, they wouldn't respond, okay? But I think it takes exposure to control it, okay? So just as I said, it's less in the capital city because more exposed persons are staying there. So I didn't really experience it that much.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you going back?
Well, I don't know for now, but I don't know. Our classes are still ongoing, and many countries are giving us opportunity to transfer, okay? So I'm trying to consider all of it, anyone that I feel comfortable with. But for now, I'm still engaging in my online classes in Ukraine. So
yeah, you're doing your online classes for Ukraine. What is the average age of students going to Ukraine, especially for bachelor? Because I know there are, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhD. You have all kinds of students. Okay. Roughly, from the information I have, Nigeria has over 5,000 students in Ukraine. So, for the youngest, for example, who are going newly, what kind of age are we looking at?
Okay, I think more than 60% should be within 17, 18. If I'm going to add 20, it should be up to 70%.
Yeah.
Those going there for masters are quite less. Even though of recent, I noticed quite a lot of people who were not coming for academics, okay, moved to Ukraine, maybe to live from there or something. But for the students, basically, we have 17, 18, like highest, and then the rest.
So these are young boys
Very
and girls,
young,
very young boys and
yeah,
girls
very young.
who should have some sort of duty of care. And they often don't. They are going to a completely new country, new weather, new language, new culture. A lot of things can go very, very wrong very quickly, yeah.
That was my strong drive, okay? It's quite contradicting to my personality because I think I'm quite introverted. So I wanted my own space. But seeing all those kids and all that, a lot of them are victims of many things, trust me, especially the ladies. So I said, I think it's high time I did it. So, yeah.
When you say especially the ladies, what happens?
Yeah, we have high rate of, unwanted pregnancy, I said it earlier. Or maybe abortion and all that. Yeah, so they are quite young. I understood better because when I was of that age, my parents were adamant of me never leaving the country on my own. So when I got there, I really understood better. I say, yeah, at that age, they don't have stand or stable decision. When you say no, your no is your no. But here, I think at that age, it's quite fluctuating. Yeah. And the whole youthful exuberance, like, of course. So I think...
what about the laws there? The law in the place where you are should matter. Because regardless of what, if you're on that land and you do something wrong, do Nigerians get justice?
Talking about that, I'm not saying they are being coerced into it. They're rather being cajoled into it. So they were not forced into it. They were only, cajoled and,
So there are subtleties to all of this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I must say to you, Eunice, thank you for setting up. All I can say is good luck. When you finish education, when you graduate as a doctor, do you know where you'd be and what you'll do?
Of course, I want to practice. Wanting to study medicine is a great passion for me. So I have countries that I have on my mind and I'm working towards it. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We'll
you
take
for
a break.
having me.
When we come back, everybody's hesitant. They don't even know what to, because we don't know what to make. We want to give you a hug, and be glad that you are here.
Okay,
and also,
thank you.
Wish you all the best. Nigerians used to go to other places in exchange, and other people used to come to Nigerian universities as exchange students. In fact, once upon a time, we were the place for other people to run away to when there was a war.
Wow.
Yes, it used to happen. After the break. Yeah, welcome back. It's Public Eye, and today we're talking about education pilgrimage. Popularly, they talk about education Japaing. And now in the studio, I have with me, the tripartite. Basically, a gentleman who helps people who want to take opportunities in several parts of the world. Young people for education, other people maybe for business and other such opportunities. A woman from the agency that's responsible for keeping an eye on what's happening with Nigerians outside of Nigeria, and a lecturer who himself also at some time was a student in some other parts of the world, and is also a member of the very famous ASUU. I'm going to start with the gentleman directly in front of me, Oloketuyi, right?
Yeah, Adedamola.
Adedamola.
Yeah, Oloketuyi. Yes.
AOC Schengen, that's the name of the country. And also here with us this afternoon is Ms. Shalewa Ajila. Yeah. Ms. Ajila is Planning, Research and Statistics Officer at the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, that's NIDCOM.
Yes.
She also represents Honorable Abike Erewa. Everybody knows when they hear Abike, they want to hold the woman by her skirts.
It's okay, yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Finally, we also have with us Dr. Akintunde Akanni. Dr. Akanni is the head of the Department of Journalism at the Lagos State University. He's an associate professor of journalism and director of the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. He's also a member of the Academic Staff Union of Universities in Nigeria. We all know them as ASUU. Thank you for coming, Dr. Akanni.
Thank you, madam.
We have to start with you.
Okay.
You people are responsible for this. If you didn't go on strike, our children will not want to go away.
We are not responsible for the strike. It's the government. What's so difficult in providing basic amenities in the public schools? And let me quickly alert you to a very recent development. One very nauseating decision that our government has just taken. Over time, the issue of subsidy on petroleum has been quite controversial. It should go. No, maybe we should endure it a little while. As a matter of fact, when Buhari was coming in, when President Buhari was about coming in, he said he could not understand any such thing called subsidy. And that once he gets elected, he will take care of the fraud called subsidy. But surprisingly, he has come to sustain it. And now, just a few days back, his government approved no less than 4 trillion naira. And what ASUU is asking for is just very infinitesimal, very small fraction of that, 200 billion. Government keeps coming up with funny interventions.
This particular ask that give us a certain percentage of this subsidy, if you got that fraction, will this solve the problem with tertiary institution in Nigeria?
Well,
because on one hand, this sounds to me like give us our own share too. If you are taking that share, then give us our own share.
No.
Does that solve the problem?
Well, government is giving us the impression that this 4 trillion naira is going to go to everyone. So trying to just blindfold all of us so that ASUU could be effectively blackmailed. They're not telling the truth.
So what will solve the problem of tertiary institution in Nigeria? And I don't think it's a problem, it's the problems. So what will make a change? What will make a difference?
Let me start by saying that, sadly enough, government had not solved the problem of providing sufficient facilities for the universities. And then it brought in this EPs thing, integrated payment program, whatever, which has created so much problem that some vice chancellors now get paid as little as under 500,000 in a month. Some professors get paid as little as 200,000 in a month. And ASUU is saying, okay, this EPs is fraudulent. It cannot pass integrity test anywhere. Now, we are volunteering a replacement. And ASUU came up with UTAS. And government said UTAS should go for integrity test. And UTAS scored no less than 99.3 or so % integrity test. So there is no basis for not replacing EPs with UTAS. But government, in its height of insincerity, will not agree to anything good from ASUU. Don't forget that it was ASUU that researched and came up with the idea of third fund.
Yes, third fund.
Now government again has hijacked third fund.
Okay, I'm going to come back because you see, I don't want this to be a conversation about ASUU, because ASUU is a subset of the conversation. This is a conversation about education and the fact that in a poll, most polls done now, most Nigerian students, most youngsters, Nigerian youngsters, would rather be educated outside of the country. They would not want to go to Nigerian universities. They go to Nigerian universities because they don't have a choice. We'll come back to that now. So I want to ask you, Mr. Oloketuyi, you are the ones interfacing with people looking for opportunities. What is the rate of demand like?
The rate of demand is very high, as usual, because it has become culture. And they say culture eats strategy for breakfast. So anytime that this whole market on its own, it's not just Nigeria. You look at Ethiopia, you look at India, you look at Pakistan. I've been exposed to this kind of market, and it's high in demand. You have places like in Kenya also that is doing, but Kenyan students don't even really consider traveling abroad. Now, back to your question now. The rate of demand is so high because right from the onset, slowly as the years went by, Nigerians started migrating more. So, and it's at its peak as ever, and the peak keeps coming higher at every year. So it's culture already.
What support is there? And a lot of these students are young when they leave. What does the commission do to support Nigerian students?
The thing about studying abroad is, everybody is free to study wherever they want to. You can migrate as you want to. But then we have missions in these countries, and we always advise people who, happen to find themselves in these countries to try and register, try and know your mission, try and know your ambassador. These are ways that you can, be protected. These are ways that you can communicate with us. And NIDCOM, Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, we're very accessible to everybody. We always respond to our emails. We always, pick calls. We're always active for people to contact us. So you just need to identify your mission, where it is, and then visit if you can. If you cannot, then you can contact them via telephone or email.
If a Nigerian ran into trouble, a Nigerian student,
yes,
what are their options?
The first thing is always to get to the mission. Always contact the mission. And then if there's anything we can do from our end, the mission will always contact us. Or you can contact us directly and we can link you to the mission, because we operate from here. For now, we operate from here. And then there are some organizations outside the country. NIDO is very active, and we also are in connection with NIDO as well. There's NIDO Europe. So you can also contact them if you need anything, and they would contact us if there's anything we need to do from this end.
But I wanted to come to you, Dr. Akanni. Listening to all of this, as a lecturer, who, first and foremost, to have decided to be a lecturer, you have a call, to educate, to expand minds and all of that. Hearing that's how do you feel about Nigerian students just wanting to leave?
Well, traveling is part of education. I was a British chevening scholar, some 22 years, 22, 23 years back. And I really was excited to be a chevening scholar. I was a visiting scholar to Columbia University in the US, 98. I was a fellow I was a Norfolk fellow in 2003. I had been around, I had gone around. And, those years were really exciting for me. And I'm doing my best to actually encourage the children in my house, to also aspire to get educated outside, but not until you are done with your first degree here. Now, to come back to aspiring to go seek education abroad, there's nothing bad in it. As a matter of fact, some time ago I was in Michigan and I met a mayor. And he did tell me that Americans, as a matter of fact, should endeavor to travel to places like India. That engineering schools in India, a good number of engineering schools in India are better than what they have in the United States. So there's nothing bad in aspiring to travel, around the world to seek education. But what is saddening is that we are feeling compelled to travel abroad to seek education because our own system is collapsing. And part of the collapse is what led to the rise of NIDCOM. I'm sorry. Because if our foreign missions were doing well, or Ministry of External Affairs is doing well, why do you need, an intervention like NIDCOM? When I was a chevening scholar, 99, 2000 in England, I didn't smell the Nigerian High Commission. In fact, to date, I don't know where Nigerian High Commission is located in England. But Nigeria is lucky now with Alhaji Sarafa Ishola as the High Commissioner. He tried to move around. Don't also forget that he's the youngest High Commissioner ever appointed by this country to the UK. Until he was appointed, all of the previous High Commissioners were old men. Bola Ajibola was already old, retired, War Court judge before he was posted there, and so on and so forth. So, and a good number of our leaders in government never cared about issues related to education internationally. I can tell you that until we properly set up Chevening Alumni Association.
So the point now is that it should not be a big deal. It has become a big deal for two reasons, as you said.
But if you're a leader in government, sorry to say, if you're a leader in government, you should be interested in the affairs of your citizens. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that as a scholar there in the UK, as a Chevening scholar, you need to know the kind of pampering that we were subjected to. Officials of the British Council will come visit us every month. And they will write ahead to notify us that we are coming on so days. We are engaged with the university authorities, so the venue of our meeting is going to be so place. And when they come, it's going to be fun. Nigerian officials of Nigerian High Commission never bothered. And that's why I just told you that for all the years I spent, for all the period I spent in England, and I didn't know where the Nigerian High Commission was located. I didn't care anyway. And even my subsequent visits to the UK, and I think I've gone, a number of times.
So what you're saying is that it's failure in other sectors too that worsens the situation and circumstances.
Of course.
Mr. Oloketuyi, let me come to you. It seems like it's now become business. And when it's business, it's unregulated. All sorts of people have become sort of like middlemen. Even in the countries where people are going to, it's a lucrative business for many, many schools. So to distinguish between schools that actually really give value and schools that have turned this into a business, it becomes quite difficult. How does one tell one apart?
So, for example now, firsthand, I graduated from school here in Nigeria, first of all. I went to Covenant. Then I did my master's in Germany. For the last 7 years, I've lived in Germany. I'm still there. Luckily enough, I just came on Friday and this happened. So, telling apart is because, for example, now I'm speaking from first-hand experience. And like you said, it's an unregulated industry. Anybody can take table and chair, say study here, and they call themselves agents. That's why if you even call me agent, I can even this thing, because a consultant is totally different. Now, on the school's part, they have monetized this thing seriously. And I was even still bitterly complaining. Even last year I gave up. For the last 4 years, I've been pushing a proposal to the federal government that there's a way to formalize this thing and make money out of it. But as a regular person going in flight, taking flights back and forth, as usual, nepotism has to come into place and everything. And that comes back to the system. You come to them and you tell them about things that can work, but it's like, what's my business? Do you understand? What's in for us and everything. So the school is having a big feel on this. They are making money. Students are making wrong decisions because there's no regulatory body to say these are the right people to give this kind of information. And you understand, people just moving helter-skelter. So telling a difference comes from, like they say, maybe somebody that has first-hand experience and you are lucky. Because there's no formula to this right now because it's so unregulated. But if they could take their time to regulate this industry is a big industry on its own. And that is the picture I was trying to make the federal government see.
It's interesting that you use the word industry itself on its own.
It's an industry.
It's an industry.
Okay. Now, I'll go back to the terminologies I purposely coined. There are 3 types of countries. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. Now, I came up with like a formula. I just say the AOC formula because I say, if anybody watches what I do online, I'm not all about Japa. I hate that word. I hate it because the point of you living where you are is progression, career progression, or you're actually looking for a better life. Now, there's a certain level of comfort you should have had here, psychologically, or there's a certain demand that you want for yourself for you to move abroad. All in all, a lot of people want immigration opportunities, they want work and study opportunities and everything, and you can really get them in the Tier 1 countries. Tier 1 countries, I would say, are countries that you're allowed to work and study, you have quality education, the education is recognized internationally, and the country is safe. Tier 2 countries are countries that, and these Tier 1 countries are the ones that are expensive, you understand? Quote unquote expensive. Now, the Tier 2 countries are the countries that are somewhat affordable, but you have a chance to actually still get half of those things. So maybe like they don't have a post-study visa option that is so long, but you have to really, really do your thing and organize yourself. Tier 3 countries are countries that you can't even work and study, and your security is not there. Quality of education is not even recognized in that region. And ironically, they say these countries are the cheapest, but they become the most expensive. I have nothing against people, and a lot of people go for this because of what? Affordability. But in the sense of affordability, you still pay that money. What do I mean? For example now, a typical example is that I've never done is that I don't touch somewhere like Cyprus. You are not allowed to work and study as a student. The citizens themselves are looking for how to go. You are coming in. Then you pay your rent in pounds or in foreign currency. You have to go. You have to call your parents back home again to send you money. Why did you leave the country in the first place? I would have taken that money to a private school and gone to go and study. A Tier 2 country now is a place that maybe like France or Spain, do you understand? That if you finish school, and that's why I said AOC Schengen, I only stay within the Schengen region. Because when you graduate from any school in the Schengen region, there's this bamful, there's this togetherness. You know, we have ECOWAS, but the Schengen region is more strong. I have a degree from France, I can look for a job in Germany. I have a degree from what now? Switzerland. Its banking is respected around. I can get a job in Netherlands. I have a degree from Germany with the EMBLA, you understand? You know that you cannot go wrong.
I know even of the UK that a lot of schools are under pressure to make money, you know? So they look to countries like this where people will do anything to get education.
Even in the US.
Even in the US.
Yes.
So that begets the question that some people have asked, that maybe ASUU itself is not being, you know, Nigerian University itself is not being proactive, and also is too dependent on a past that has gone. So there is an idea that Nigerian education should be free or it should be highly subsidized, because we come from a socialist leaning. And so what we are demanding is not practical. What do you say?
Well, the figures are accessible to all. All of us keep getting this fact that our legislators are over-remunerated. But this is a reality. How much are professors paid? How much does an average member of the National Assembly go home with? I mean, you can't reconcile these figures. Excuse me.
Go on.
Now, let's not even bother to compare what professors earn and what legislators earn. How about comparing the earnings of professors here with what our counterparts earn in Ghana, in Uganda, and the rest of them? So what we are saying is that government does not seem to be interested in public education system as much as they ordinarily should be. There are UNESCO standards. Are they ready to abide by these standards? And Nigeria is a free member of UNESCO.
One of the criticism is that the ASUU demands are really for ASUU, not for schools.
But
because the conversation is always about salaries for lecturers and professors, and that paying the lecturers and professors does not solve the educational issue, because there are other issues. So it's not really just about paying them salaries that fixes the education.
But we can't be isolationists in our approach. I mean, if you don't pay somebody well, Shakespeare says, things bad be gone, make strong themselves by ill. How did they get elected? I mean, these are people who ordinarily, put them on the spot, can they even interpret the concept of democracy? A good number of them. So, I mean, and they just get railroaded in like that. And so these are people who are not in a position to appreciate the beauty of democracy. Right. So they don't know what they are there to do in the first place. But before, you know what it takes to build a professor. It's not easy. You get kicked out once you can't measure up.
Right, Ms. Ajila, I know that doctor has, said indirectly that your commission only became necessary because, I mean, the commissions do not work from country to country. Tell me, specifically, what do you have for Nigerian students, young people?
I believe it could be a future plan for the commission, but I can't say for sure. But what I can say is, again, we're easily accessible. So if a Nigerian outside needs something, you can always reach out to us. We would always respond. And if it's something outside our jurisdiction, we would make sure that we connect you to the right body and also stay on their neck to make sure that something is done.
On the basis of all of this, Dr. Ajila, I wanted to ask you what your own projections for the future is, because it seems like this ASUU thing is intractable. And I know that the challenges in education is not just ASUU, So where do you see this going?
Well, I also happen to be a parent. I have 2 undergraduates as children now, and they are affected. All schools are under lock and key, and we don't seem to care. People who have always find their ways into government in Nigeria are never serious about governance. So it's up to us, everyone, to take issue of governance more serious. Young people who don't have PVCs should go get their PVCs, so that we must reckon properly with elections, so that we must guard our votes. Our votes must count, so that we must ensure that the right set of people get elected.
Right. I need to take a break. When I come from the break, the audience is made up mostly of young people. So it's a good idea to let them get a word in as to what they think, and especially regarding the future. So because I say it on this seat all the time that I've been doing it for so long, I have seen people go from audience to government house. So some of the people seated here today will also end up in leadership. What will the future do in future? right after the break. Welcome back. Our conversation is about education pilgrimage. And now it's time for questions and answers. Before then, when we started this show, we had Miss Eunice here, who is a vice president of the NANS in Ukraine.
Thank you once more for this privilege. Actually, I just wanted to comment on what Dr. Akanni said. Basically, as I was evaluating the educational system in Nigeria, I came to the realization that the major problem is the government. The educational sector is only a part of the body, and the body is Nigeria. Nigeria has to be worked on. If Nigeria is done better, I think the educational system will be influenced positively.
So before I move further, I would love to emphasize on the PVC Dr. Akanni said. So the issue is not about we getting the PVC. Trust me, we are willing to get the PVC. But the deal is, when we go out to vote, are we going to be secured? We see how elections go in Nigeria. Just ordinary local government election, they're scattering chairs, they're shooting guns, they're snatching ballot boxes. So we will not say because we want to cast our votes, then we should lose our lives for. I'm sorry to say, but most of our senators are House of Reps members. Trust me, they did not work hard to get to that position. Most of them got to that position from somebody that knows somebody that, okay, come to my office, I'll see what I can do. But for our lecturers and our professors, they worked hard to get to this position where they are. They studied their brain and their heads are always going on fire. And our government does not have regard for them. There's a big way we can solve this ASUU problem. You see our House of Reps members. I've always been looking for a platform to say this. We have about 300 and something seats in the house. But for every time they show the house on TV, I can count the number of people seated down there. There are about 20. This is not an assumption. But you see those empty seats, they would pay them even when they come to office or when they don't come to office. But our lecturers, our civil servants, our professors, when they don't come to office, they will not pay them. If they come late, they would even slash from their salaries. So why don't the government just pay these people that are giving their all, their best, even under the rain, they are coming to lecture? And according to what Dr. Akanni said, everybody's mind, the whole government sector is focused on next year election. And we're still having ASUU strike and nobody's saying anything about it. Everybody just focused on next year election. So if the government can pay them, they'll give their best and we'll stop having ASUU strike. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope she goes into government. Yes, I hope so. Someone else wanted to ask a question?
Yes, my question is directed at Mr. Oloketuyi. Are there laws and or rights that protect foreign students against racism and other vices? Because racism alone is enough distraction from education.
So that's why I addressed the point of you depends on what country you are going to. I saw it online. They say you can't go to Cambodia and say you are studying abroad. It's a totally different ball game. So if you go to a tier 1 country, a proper country like Germany, do you understand? You go like Netherlands. This system, you know, the police, if you call, the police have fuel in their car. In 2 seconds, they're in your house already, whether you're black, white, purple, or pink. Now, this word called racism, a lot of people miscoin it. Racism in the real sense is that you are black, you cannot get into the same toilet as white people. You cannot get into the same bus. You cannot get into the same anything. And there's another thing called, what now? Discrimination. Discrimination comes from being prejudiced. For example now, when Corona started, if you see a Chinese man pass you, you're like, do you understand? It's just the human mind of how things work. But when you go to an advanced country, when a lot of people are exposed, you have less of that. Like coining on what she said now, she said maybe in part of Russia, or Ukraine, the cities are the ones that are still okay. But when you are going out of the remote places, where do you find more of the uneducated or enlightened people? That is where you find more of these things. So, my brother, you want to study abroad, pick the right school, the right course, the right country.
So, I mean, somebody else was raising their hand. Yeah.
All right, my question is quite simple. Professor, is there any way there can be a foreign intervention on finance in terms of ASUU whatever? And then is there like probably, okay, we know of UNICEF, we know of other African Union that look into issues for countries, for African countries, the issues in Nigeria concerning ASUU? That's my question, sir.
Well, Nigeria, let me start by saying that Nigeria is a sovereign country. We are an independent country. What that means is that we have the capacity to govern ourselves, having been independent since 1960. And even as ASUU is on strike, you need to be alerted to the fact that folks in the National Assembly are saying that, oh, we have the power to set up more universities, and they are announcing. They keep announcing. We believe that taxpayers are doing well enough in this country. And that's why ASUU came up with the idea of the initiative of TED Fund. And TED Fund is heavily resourced, sufficiently resourced to the extent that it can take care very well all of those universities and polytechnics in existence as I speak. But the guys in the presidency, in the executive, in the National Assembly, don't seem to understand how things should work.
Because as Eunice says, it's become corruption, isn't it?
Corruption.
That's what she's saying.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying.
ASUU came up with the parallel initiative of UTAS, 99.3 integrity score in integrity test.
So the thing is, from what you said now, and I can coin this thing, is everybody's looking in the wrong direction. We're always saying ASUU, we're always saying the educational system. And I will also come back to the consequences of doing with things. Nothing is wrong. The educational system in Nigeria seems like, oh yeah, it's a bit substandard, it's haggard, it's this, is that. But actually nothing is really wrong, because Nigeria has produced a great number of people that people from abroad come and take away. If something was wrong with the educational system in Nigeria, you will not get into the universities abroad. So it is working perfectly. There's nothing wrong with the educational system. If there's something wrong, the way you assimilate, Nigerians, when you get into any country, you can even cope with the thing is always different from our own, but we cope. So nothing is wrong. That is why a lot of times on the government, like you said, they look at it that things are still working. These ones are shouting, I beg, ignore, because there's no consequence. At the long run, there's no consequence. What every Nigerian and youth should be looking at is that when I graduate from this Nigeria, how can I get a job? Because a lot of people go abroad to have a better life. Job security, immigration possibilities, security, and that's where the government comes in. So Nigeria should not even be looking at the education because it's fine. We should be looking more of, what can I do with this degree when I graduate?
Right.
Am I safe in this environment? Can I actually be proud to become a Nigerian? And every other thing will work.
And that's what your commission wants to do, to help those who then make it there one way or another. I mean, we can't always round up every issue. All we can do now is to encourage people that if you want to get education outside of the country, to go to find the right people to talk to find the right place to go to. And also to say that a better, a more cohesive relationship between the commission, particularly, and students, since there's a lot of that happening. And to also say that we wish ASUU the best.
Thank you.
In all of this.
Thank you.
That's our show for today. Thank you for joining. You know that if you have further enquiries or comments, you can contact us through our social media platforms. You can also write a good old-fashioned email if you wanted to. And we'll see you again next time on the show. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.